The Goddess here. So today I want to talk to you about something that is rather personal for me, and I am going to be sharing a lot of my personal stories, my personal challenges, my triumphs, all of the things that I'm going through right now. Usually when I am in the process of glowing up, I keep it to myself and I don't share it with anybody until I've actually obtained my goal or gotten through whatever it is that I'm going through. So for those of you who do not know me, 5 years ago, I packed up everything that I knew in the United States, sold all of my prized possessions, everything that I had accumulated over 51 years. At that time, it was 51. Everything that I had accumulated over the years, I either sold it, donated it, or whatever is left in a 10 by 5 storage, okay? So I had never lived outside the country before. And I had never gone to Indonesia, never knew the language, never knew anyone who had ever traveled to Indonesia. I was sitting in my living room on a Sunday evening preparing to go to a job. And I am a truck driver by trade. So my job was a dump truck driver at the time here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was preparing to go to work like we all do on Sunday, okay? And let me just tell you this. Sunday was my only off day. So from 4 o'clock in the morning, which is when I got up in the morning, I prepared myself to go to a job where I had to be in traffic for about 40 minutes. I was traveling from Smyrna to Woodstock. If you guys know anything about Atlanta, that was the distance. And it was about 5 o'clock in the morning that I would get in my car and I would drive across town, go to a job, work from 6 a.m. and sometimes never getting off work until 6 p.m. or never getting home, I should say, never getting home until 6 p.m. So I have spent a total of 12 hours at that point on a job, right? Or preparing to go to a job. Then when I walked through the door, I was prepared to do it all over again. That was my life. And that is the life of most of us. That's it. That's just the way of life. That's how we do things, right? So at the time, it was mandatory that I work on Saturdays. And then the only day that I had off was Sunday. So Sunday, I did my meal prep. I did my laundry. I washed my car. I tried to do whatever errands that I needed to do that I wasn't able to do during the week, because when I went to work, nothing was open. When I got off work, everything was closed. So I didn't have much of a life. My life was surrounding work and helping someone else to build their dream. Today, I posted something that said I became an entrepreneur when I realized that it didn't take an hour to get $20. That is so true. That is so true. But what I want to share with you today is what it does take is an extreme belief in one's self. So I've already told you that 5 years ago, I moved to Bali, Indonesia. Or did I tell you that? Did we get that far yet? 5 years ago, I packed up everything. I was sitting in my living room one evening on a Sunday, and I'm looking around the living room, and I'm like, this cute, this real cute. But I wasn't able to enjoy my environment. I wasn't able to enjoy my brand new sports car other than getting in the car, driving it to a job where I wasn't necessarily happy. And I sat there in the living room on that Sunday evening, knowing that I had to get up and go to work the next morning. And I just asked the question, like, God, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Because there has to be more to life than this. This can't be what life is about. Getting up every day and doing the same thing over and over and over again, never having enough time for myself, never having enough time for my family, never having enough time to build my dreams. Everything else in my life was on the back burner because of this job. And when I asked that question, like, what is it? Because this ain't it. Somehow I went into this trance, and I'm going to call it a trance because it really was not planned, you guys. A lot of you asked me, like, why did you choose to move to Bali? And my laptop was on the desk, quite like it is now. And before I knew it, I had taken my car payment money, which was the only money that I had in my bank account, and I bought a one-way ticket to Bali, Indonesia. Now, why Bali? I don't know. When I moved to Bali, what I started to hear is Bali chooses its people. And at the time, I was going through this whole spiritual awakening. I was meditating more. I was sitting with myself more. I was, working through a lot of the trauma and pain and shame and, just reconciling some of my childhood wounds at the time. And things started to come up for me that I didn't even know that I needed to heal. I didn't know anything about healing. That wasn't a term that we used in my house. In fact, when it came to healing and mental health and things like that, we were encouraged to pray it away. I don't know if your family was into the church like that. Mine wasn't really into the church like that, but that was the go-to. That was another indoctrination. Pray it away. You better get down on your knees and pray. You better pray. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were not encouraged to work through your mental health issues, your childhood trauma, your healing. Nobody talked about things like that in my family. So it was something that really just began to happen kind of spontaneously. And I knew that I needed to evolve. I knew that I spent so many years of my life really, woe is me. I was dealt a bad hand. If this hadn't happened, then this would have happened, and this, and if they didn't do this to me, and they said this to me, and they treated me like this. That was my story most of my life. So during that time, when I moved out of the country, I was getting to a place where I was empowering myself to not be the victim anymore. That didn't feel good to me. It didn't feel good to me because I knew that that is not the life that I was supposed to be living, the victimhood life. So anyway, bought my one-way ticket to Bali. Yes, I said one way. It wasn't, I was going to check it out. It wasn't, let me go see, what it's like. It wasn't, oh, I'll be right back. It wasn't any of that. It was for sure, I am buying a one-way ticket. And I bought a one-way ticket the next day. I started to put my stuff on Craigslist, Let Go, Facebook Marketplace, and sell everything that I owned. Okay? I'm telling you this because with that post that I put up and said, I became an entrepreneur when I realized that it did not take an hour to get $20. At the time, being a truck driver, I was making $20 an hour. Okay. And what it does take is a strong belief in yourself. I remember when I decided to move here, I'm in Atlanta right now at the moment, but when I decided to move here to Atlanta, that was another, kind of like flying by the seat of my pants and not really knowing what I was doing. I've never lived outside of Las Vegas, Nevada at the time. And I really had to dig deep and roll the dice on myself. So today I want to talk to you about rolling the dice on yourself. I want to talk to you about the things that you know, the things that you've been through, the schooling that you've had, the things that you've actually invested in learning or growing in whatever field you're in. See, we're not taught that we can use those things to become entrepreneurs. We can use those things to teach others. We're not taught that, for one. And for two, a lot of us don't believe in our ability to be able to earn money with us just being who we are, doing what we do, doing the things that come easy to us and showing others how to do it. When I was going through my spiritual awakening and I was going through my glow up, I was listening to people who were doing what I wanted to do. I was purchasing courses online. I was purchasing books. I was learning how to meditate. I was learning how to sit with myself. And I learned that from other people who I saw online who was actually doing it. I knew that I was important enough not to play the victim and to begin to invest in myself, invest time, invest energy, invest love. And the more I began to practice doing those things, the stronger I became. So when I moved to Bali, Indonesia, and before I even went there and I bought that ticket and I started to sell my things, all of my doubt, all of my fear, all of my apprehension, all of my confusion, all of it went out the window, you guys. It went out the window. So I want to encourage you today that if you have been called and you feel the pull to do something different, to walk away from the thing that does not serve you anymore, to stop playing victim, to run towards your fear rather than run away from your fear, if you are feeling all of those things, you are given that, you are thinking that, because the moment you take that first step, then the other steps are laid out for you. But it depends on you. And again, I will say, everybody is not cut out for entrepreneurship. Everybody's not. When I moved here to Atlanta, Georgia, what I told myself was, because I was questioning myself. I was like, girl, who do you think you are, girl? What are you doing? Girl, move. You've lived in Las Vegas all your life, girl. You ain't gonna never go nowhere. You ain't gonna never do nothing else. You might as well get used to it. I was telling myself this. And even before I moved here, I laid in the bed on that Saturday morning before I started packing up my things to come here. And that's a whole nother story that I'll share with you. But I said, you know how to get a job. You know how to live here. You know how to do this. You have never rolled the dice on yourself, sis. You have sacrificed everything about you for everyone else, but you have never sacrificed. You've never taken the chance. You've never jumped for you. And I was saying, well, what if it don't work out? What if I don't have enough money? What if? And then finally, that higher version, that bigger version, that glow up version, that goddess said, but what if it works out? What if it all works out? You will never know unless you take the leap. And I did. And it opened up a whole new world for me, which extended into me packing up my things and moving to Bali, Indonesia for 5 years. I'm telling you this story because there are so many of you out there right now who are afraid. Most people will never attempt to live out their dreams. They will never roll the dice on themselves. They will never step out of the indoctrination that belongs to someone else. It ain't even yours. Your belief systems, the way you do things, is someone else's. Somebody else taught you. You didn't come up with these things yourself, most of them. We're taught. and our parents were taught. And yeah, maybe they worked out real good during that time. The things that I was taught when I was growing up, it worked perfectly for the time. But when I became an adult, those things didn't fit into my life. And I didn't become happy until I started to understand what made me happy. And it wasn't someone else's beliefs. It wasn't somebody else's work ethic. It wasn't the idea that most of my family retired on a job that they had been on for 30 and 40 years. That wasn't my story. I knew that wasn't my story. The longest I've ever stayed at a job was 3 years, and it was a miserable 3 years at that. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I've always danced to the beat of my own drum. Okay? So I'm saying that to you because some of you are feeling the same way and you don't have the examples. I didn't have the example until I turned 47 years old, and that's when I moved to Georgia. So I keep referring to Georgia, even though I told you that 5 years ago I moved to Bali, Indonesia. It was a wonderful decision. Everything lined up at the right place, right time, right? But that ain't really what I want to talk to you about. I'm back here in the United States now. This is what I want to talk to you about. This vulnerable part of this is what I'm sharing with you. So the same feeling that I was feeling about moving to Indonesia, out of the blue, when I was in Indonesia, I had the feeling that I needed to come back here to the United States. I didn't know why. I didn't know what I was coming back for. I didn't know, what was going to happen, but it goes back to the belief system that I had in myself. I had already decided I don't want to be anchored to anything in my life anymore after living in Bali, Indonesia, and I saw how easy peasy, peaceful, and free my life had become living there. I was like, oh yeah, this is it right here. I don't want to do what I was doing in the US no more. I don't want the responsibility of paying stuff. I don't want the responsibility of making just enough money to get by anymore. I knew I didn't want that. So when I came back here earlier this month, I was just following my spirit again. And before I left, one of the things that I said was, okay, since we're going back over there, here's what I'm going to need, God. I am going to need to find a love. I'm going to need to find a companion. I think I'm ready to do this thing again. Because I've been single for a very long time and I've never thought about being in a relationship. I was too busy doing me. But I know that being here in the United States, you need some sort of support system in comparison to being in Indonesia. Anywhere we go, we need a support system. But especially here, considering I've already laid out the foundation. I don't want to be anchored to a place, to a thing, to doing the same thing over and over again. I don't want to be anchored to that. But what I am open to is love. I am open to love again. So I have started this new journey of manifestation, and I am a strong believer in calling things to you, right? Calling things into your life. There's so many stories that I can tell you about the first time that I came back to the United States, what I called into my life that I didn't even realize I was calling into my life. I didn't realize I was calling Bali, Indonesia into my life. All I wanted was peace and freedom. I didn't know that my peace and freedom would look the way it did, that beautiful, in Indonesia, until I got there. Then I'm like, oh, dang, I was asking for this much And you gave me this much? This is possible? So I am doing this Love as I Lead journey. So what that is attracting a love and being the love that I need. And I'm going to be sharing that with you. And this is my nakedness. So some of you know that I just finished writing my book, The Power to Be Naked. Okay. And in that book, I'm very open and honest with a lot of things that people usually cover up. They don't want others to know about them. The secrets, the family secrets, and their own personal secrets. And one of my personal secrets is I usually go through things by myself. I don't share because I don't want judgment or opinions. You know what I'm saying? And many of us are like that. But at the same time, although I'm calling in that love, I am also loving myself on another level because it's required. You never get to a place where you arrive and you've just done enough. I am manifesting and building not only my body, not only my business, but my bag and my belief system. It has to be on another level. We're in a different time in space now. So I wanted to share with you, I don't have anything to offer you at this time. I also want to share with you that you cannot be afraid to fail, you guys. In entrepreneurship, because it goes back to that. So there's a couple of things that I'm talking about here, or 3 things that I'm talking about. Number 1, I'm talking about entrepreneurship and believing in yourself. Number 2, I'm talking about manifesting a love. For some of you, maybe you're already in a relationship. And maybe you just need to love yourself. I am also talking about the power to be naked, to be open, to be free, to strip away those old beliefs, the old way that you were doing things, the old way of being, to become new. Okay? I'm sharing that with you as I'm going through it. Love as I lead. Okay? But I also want to share, I'm just going to give you an example. Everything's not going to work out that you try. This month, I've been promoting, actually started last month before I even came to this country. I started talking about my 30-day challenge, bombshell shoulders. Shoulders are my strong point. I love my shoulders. I know that when my shoulders are bigger, when they're fuller, when they're sculpted, I walk in a room with more confidence. I feel better. My body feels better. My posture is better. When your posture is better, you know, there's an authority that you grasp with others, and you feel good in the clothes that you wear when your shoulders and your back and your arms look nice, right? So I said, okay, this is what I want for myself, so let me share it with the rest of the world. And as we're doing this 30-day challenge, everybody's gonna want this. Everybody's gonna wanna feel the way I feel. Guess what, you guys? I am here to tell you that although I've been talking about this for 2 months, do you know not one person has signed up for the challenge? So when I say to you that I am being open and honest and I'm being naked with you, these are the things that I want to reveal to you. Everything's not going to work the way you plan. The people in your life are not going to support you the way you plan. Your family is not going to cheer for you the way you plan or the way you think. Your idea is not going to be everybody's idea. People are not going to be supportive. I noticed like over the past, I don't know, couple months, my platforms have grown. All of my little IG platforms are growing. And the more I put myself out there, just minding my business, doing what I do, living my life the way I live my life, Somebody is coming on insulting me. Somebody is projecting how they feel in their life and their thoughts and their ideas onto me. Somebody is telling me, oh, you are attention seeking. It's, people have different things that they're going to throw at you. And it ain't going to all feel good. But because I've already gone through the process of healing, and I know those folks don't know me, and I know that hurt people, or at least they try. I'm okay with that. But one thing that's not going to happen, if you don't allow yourself to be seen, if you don't allow yourself to be naked, ain't nobody going to see you. Ain't nobody going to have nothing to say. Well, some will. Some people going to talk about you no matter what you do or how you do it. You're going to have some haters. You're going to have somebody with some opinions. You're going to have it. And most of the time when you get it, you're going to get it from people who ain't doing nothing, who are not happy. Ain't nobody that's doing better than you hating on you. Most people that are moving and shaking in their lives and living a life, they ain't got time to be throwing dirt and mud and slinging shit at you because they're doing them. So we're not worried about those folks. You have to take the chance on you. You have to roll the dice on you. You have to take the leap of faith for yourself if that's what you want to do. If you want to grow, if you want to come out of what it is that you're doing, nothing is going to change until you change. So this is today's video. I just wanted to share that with you. And if you're still here, I want to give you this prompt. It's a prompt that I am doing as well. After every day, I'm going to be actually going through this, because when I talk to you about it, I'm telling you, I am actually in it. Okay. I am in it. I've never shared the things when I'm actually in it. I usually keep that private and personal. I like to show up like, oh, I got it together. Like many of us. We want to show up unscathed, I woke up like this. This is what I do, My life is fabulous when it comes to social media especially. But it ain't. This is my real life. This is what I'm going through. So here's the prompt. Where have I proven to myself that I can create something out of nothing? I proved to myself that I could create something out of nothing when I moved to Bali, Indonesia. I didn't know how I was going to get money. I didn't. And little did I know, me moving there happened at the perfect time when everything went on shutdown. And guess what? People needed to work out. Guess what? People were depressed. They needed somebody to talk to. That's how I started my online coaching business. That's how I started to take it serious. I had already started when I was living in Atlanta, but I didn't have time to devote to it until I moved to Indonesia. I made something out of nothing. You can make something out of nothing, and you've done it before. So the prompt is, where have I proven to myself that I can create something out of nothing? And how can I celebrate that power more loudly? Talk your talk, talk your shit. Talk your shit. It is time, okay? What limiting beliefs about money, success, or freedom do I need to finally let go? You guys, I have some limiting beliefs surrounding money. Definitely not freedom anymore. But money and success, I have limiting beliefs related to that. I have some childhood stuff related to money that I need to deal with, that I am dealing with. So that is the prompt. If there's anything that you'd like to share with me, I would love to hear it. But if not, I'll see you on the other side. In the meantime and in between time, until the next time, you be fit,